In this podcast episode, Chris Josephs, the co-founder of the Pelosi Stock Tracker, shares his insights on the intersection of politics and finance, particularly focusing on how politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw leverage their positions for personal gain. The conversation delves into the implications of political insider trading, the corruption within the U.S. political system, and the role of technology in democratizing investment opportunities. Josephs begins by recounting his journey into the world of finance and politics. At 25, he is disillusioned with his job in New York City and decides to return to his family business in sports compression products. However, the COVID-19 pandemic prompts him to reconnect with friends in the finance sector, leading to the creation of the Pelosi Stock Tracker. The app aims to allow users to invest like politicians, highlighting the hypocrisy of political figures who profit from insider information while the average citizen is left in the dark. Josephs notes that the idea for the tracker is inspired by the public's growing awareness of politicians' stock trades, particularly during the pandemic. He points out that many politicians, including Pelosi, are making significant profits while the general public suffers economically. This realization fuels his desire to create a platform that exposes these practices and empowers everyday investors. The discussion shifts to the specific cases of Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw, both of whom have been scrutinized for their stock trading activities. Josephs highlights Pelosi's substantial investments in companies like Tesla and Nvidia, which coincide with legislative actions that benefit those companies. He argues that such trading raises ethical questions about the appropriateness of politicians profiting from their insider knowledge. Josephs recounts the story of Senator Richard Burr, who sold off a significant portion of his stock portfolio shortly before the market crashed due to COVID-19. Burr's actions, which were later investigated by the Department of Justice and the SEC, exemplify the potential for corruption among lawmakers who have access to sensitive information. Josephs expresses his frustration that despite the investigations, no substantial consequences are imposed on Burr or others involved in similar activities. As the conversation progresses, Josephs emphasizes the importance of technology in leveling the playing field for investors. The Pelosi Stock Tracker allows users to connect their investment accounts and receive notifications about trades made by politicians. This transparency aims to empower everyday investors to make informed decisions based on the actions of those in power. Josephs also discusses the broader implications of political trading on public trust in institutions. He argues that when politicians profit from their positions, it erodes the public's faith in the system. The tracker serves as a tool to highlight this issue and encourage accountability among elected officials. The podcast further explores the hypocrisy of politicians who advocate for policies that benefit their financial interests. Josephs points out that while politicians like Crenshaw publicly support banning TikTok, they simultaneously profit from investments in competing companies. This duality raises questions about the motivations behind their legislative actions and the potential conflicts of interest that arise. Josephs also notes that the current political climate allows for a lack of accountability, as many politicians operate without fear of repercussions for their trading activities. He argues that this environment fosters corruption and undermines the principles of democracy. Towards the end of the podcast, Josephs expresses hope for a future where political trading is more transparent and regulated. He mentions ongoing legislative efforts to ban stock trading by politicians and their families, emphasizing the need for reforms that would restore public trust in government. Josephs believes that by holding politicians accountable for their financial activities, society can begin to address the broader issues of corruption and inequality.